Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us from different time zones. Thank you so much for being here for our retail webinar focusing on retail resilience. We truly appreciate your time and we hope you are having a fantastic day. Just to keep you informed, today is our last webinar for this year, and we are really excited to bring this amazing topic to you, which is retail resilience, building a tech-enabled agility for economic uncertainty. It promises to be an engaging and insightful session, and we are thrilled to have such a great audience with us. So let me begin by introducing myself and AI Core Spot to you. My name is Nitin Naveen, serve as Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI Core Spot. With nearly a couple of decades of experience working with different consulting firms on a lot of emerging technologies, I am fortunate to have worked alongside global leaders, stakeholders, and there's some amazing innovative projects. I've been joined by a couple of my colleagues, Arvind and Naveen, so a big round of applause to them for the dedication and the energy which they have brought to organizing this event. For today's session, which is themed around retail without disruption, which is agility through innovation, we would cover a wide range of topics, which includes technology and resilience, AI and innovation, product-centric innovation along with customer experience, human and AI for customer experience, future prospects, emerging innovations, and much more. We are confident that the insights, discussions, and ideas you will hear today will spark new thinking and drive the value for this event. A heartfelt thanks to all our attendees. Your presence is invaluable. Our platform is helped as built to help you gain insights, connect with peers, turn inspiration into action. So if you leave with new ideas or strong connections, we'll consider it a job well done. So without wasting time, I want to hand this stage to Laurie, but just a brief disclaimer before we get started. The views shared by all the speakers are their personal opinions and they do not necessarily represent the perspective of their respective organizations. Over to you, Laurie, to kick off this exciting panel discussion.
Morning. Thank you so much, Nathan. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm very excited about our discussion today. I'm Laurie Parrish, and I will be your moderator. I am a technical director of sales here at InfoVision. So let's get started. Retailers face unprecedented challenges: volatile demand, supply chain disruptions, and economic uncertainty. But today we'll explore how retailers are using technology, AI, and human-centered innovation to build agility, protect margins, delight customers, and thrive no matter what the market throws at us. And at the end of this, I believe that we'll all agree it's about the ability to anticipate change, adjust quickly, and protect both margins and customer trust, which is very important, most important. So let's kick this off. Let's start with the technology foundation for resilience. And Naz, I'm going to direct this to you. Naz Sheikh is the director of technology at Sam's Club, bringing deep platform leadership in modern retail. Naz, do you want to add anything to that?
I think good morning, all of you from United States or anyone from India. Good evening. Hoping to have a safe and very happy days going on. One thing that has really become common in all of us, if you look in like last 7 to 8 years, is the word unprecedented. And many of us might recollect the beginning of the COVID. That's when the word becomes so popular. But if you look at how retail industry in specific has really evolved around all these uncertainties over last few years, it's really phenomenal growth across. Okay, it's growth of technology, but the resiliency that the industry has shown, backed up by technology, backed up by AI, backed up by various other innovations. And that truly really brings in that agility that we kept on talking maybe like for last a decade or so. But I think, as it said, correct, like necessity is the mother of innovation. And that's what looks to have really thrilled this retail industry and helped the not only the big giants, correct? You might see like small industries, small retailers also have gone like leaps and bounds during this period. And that actually was impossible without all the core groundwork that might have been done in like last couple of decades or past decades, like the cloud. You talk about any other technology like the microservices, the patterns, all the technology growth that was actually waiting, I think that has been come to help in last 6 to 7 years, and all that has really led that foundation to help various industries definitely, but retail has really thrived it and excelled on top of it. So
To
kudos to all of.
build, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
To build through resilience and agility during economic uncertainty, do you feel that there are critical capabilities that are needed, that retailers need to drive that agility?
Oh, definitely. See, it is not possible like without having those capabilities, you can just plan and achieve the numbers, or at the end of the day, satisfy the customer, correct? If you just look at the performances of your mobile applications or even the desktop, or kind of like these webinars or anything that we are nowadays going through, correct? Nothing, if you look at it from a vision or a perspective that was it the same last like 5 years back or something? No, that's not the case. Then how come suddenly we got accustomed to cater to the ever demanding need of the customer, correct? And this is just a very small example. But if you look in like brick and mortar stores, like a decade back, everyone was like, okay, brick and mortar will be out of the market. But now we don't talk about it. And the reason is they have shown that kind of an adaptability. The reason was the groundwork that they have done. And similar lines, I think the capabilities that technology and data in specific has provided them, the insight, the trend, and now AI coming into flow, correct? Like you throw like TBs of data at AI and get the results within a day with the new decision making, suggestion, insights, something which was really unimaginable maybe like a week, like uh, a decade back. You will like create a projects out of it, and you are running like for months, and then planning goes on, and then finally the report comes in, and now you are like at your fingertips moving through the data, moving through the insights, and your decision makings, you really don't have to wait for them. And that agility, if you look at all the other industry trend, it is quite out there. It's only like how do you keep up yourself, and how do you really look into beyond what comes out? Are you really able to drive through it and find what exactly went as part of it, like what really a particular retailer might have launched something which is so relevant, like AI and integration with e-commerce and all those things. Okay, you see about these platforms which really came back like 2 months back, 3 months back, and now they are catering these e-commerce giants. How is it possible? So that's the capability, that's the speed of operation that has changed. And that's all possible because of the resiliency in their own technology designs that they have maintained, because of which they are able to adapt and serve at that pace that 2 months, 3 months looks really adaptable timings for them. So it's definitely the groundwork that has gone in like maybe a couple of decades, I will say, in overall the computer science as well as the industry of technology, which has come in from a technology point of view. But at the same time, the business mindset and the planning perspectives have also changed. So
Any other of our panelists like to share on that, comment on that? Yes.
I mean, I would say from, the retailer side, which is the world that really I'm grounded in, the uncertainty only gets accelerated through a lot of the unknowns, specifically when you have to depend on a lot of tech capabilities that are constantly being pushed at you, right? It's one of these things we often joke on our side of the fence that we're being bombarded with 3 or 4 requests to talk about technology solutions a day, and there's so many opportunities out there. And the hard part for us is just understanding like what's the true sort of like tethering or connective tissue that can really solve our problems, because everything in theory seems to make sense to use an application. So I think the unknowns, going down the path of unknowns and having all these tech capabilities, at some point the synergy just doesn't seem to be quite there yet between the two worlds. So that's what we're always constantly battling, because the opportunity to reduce friction and to drive experience and he mentioned that, the operators of brick and mortar stores that are doing really well now are the ones that put a little more adjacent primal experience applications that are less tech savvy and more, human centered. So it's always that fine line, and it's just accentuating as more tech consistently hits us with opportunities.
Then to your point, from the other side of the fence, we help the customers, and our focus is always towards how one idea has propagated in solving certain problems, how we can extend that the same into the another aspect. So when it comes to pressure, the rewards focus, it basically is innovation from within the teams. So most likely the teams will start looking into the problems that they know they need solved, rather than reinventing the wheel with something brand new or fancy. So subject matter experts like yourself and your teams would know exactly what we want solved, and then AI and other auxiliary technologies can come in and solve those problems because you're not reinventing a new stream at the moment. You're just perfecting what you have and really solving that. So again, pressure has its own perks, in my sense, at least.
Mhm. We say that in the sales world, pressure is a privilege. So building on that, let's talk about scaling AI responsibly and driving innovation. Elaine, I'll address this question to you. Elaine Barsoom is an AI and corporate innovation leader who scaled responsible AI across enterprises and startups. So the question I have for you is, there's emphasis on human-centered AI and leadership buy-in. What, in your opinion, must organizations do differently to ensure that AI enhances creativity, customer connection, and long-term value, not just the operational efficiency part of the business?
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Having been in the retail for much of my career in various forms, most recently at Nike, one of the big things is that AI won't transform a culture on its own. People will. Human-centered AI, it starts with the leaders who model curiosity and not fear. So some of the elements that I think are super important is make AI as a creative partner, not an automation tool. More than often, we're hearing about how AI is going to automate and drive operational efficiency. Retail brands win when AI augments imagination, product creation, storytelling, trend prediction, personalization, not just back office efficiency. Lead with the people. People impact before process impact. The question isn't how much can we automate, it's how do we free people up to do higher value work. 3 is normalize the experimentation at every level. You want to lead with curiosity. Teams need psychological safety to try new workflows. They need to challenge old processes, and they need to co-create with these AI tools. They need to experiment with it, try it, learn with it. So investing in literacy and training early is a must. I think it's super important to get your people and your employees involved. Human-centered AI requires literacy and training, not just in the prompts, but in the judgment, in the ethics, in the cross-functional collaboration with tech teams and product teams. And finally, align the incentives. Tie the adoption to customer connection, to better product experiences and brand value, not just the cost savings. When the employees feel empowered, not just threatened, AI can become a multiplier of creativity and connection. I've really seen that throughout my career in various ways.
Anybody else like to add to that? Okay, we'll keep going. So now let's shift to product innovation and customer experience. And Danny, I'm going to direct this question to you. Danny is the head of innovation and culinary at Murphy USA, pushing the frontier of product and taste, if I could say that. So the question I have for you is, we talk about human instinct versus AI. What happens when AI knows more about your customers, say flavor preferences, than your culinary team? should human instincts still override machine-driven product ideas, in your opinion?
That's a great question. And I think to Elaine's point about sort of human-centered AI, it's one of these things where I don't know if AI can have transformational breakthroughs that humans can. And I think AI is more or less sort of a conduit or tool. And if you think about, in our industry, we're always trying to aggregate and bring in insights and purchasing patterns, preferences around how people want to buy, how they act when they buy, retail elasticity in terms of pricing. But it's AI can read, I think, is great right now in its current form at reading sort of preferences, but not sort of emotional resonance. So it's the things that AI can't really dig into that's qualitative, that are still pushing the boundaries and breaking through. And I think where a lot of the experience I've had on the retail side with AI and LLMs is incrementalizing our current business, right? And I think that's fine, but it's like AI, it knows what sort of tastes work, but it doesn't know why they matter in the end, right? So it's things like that. So I believe, it's just consistently going to be this sort of tool, this sort of pocket calculator on mitigating some risk if your organization is making a big transformational decision. If your retailer is making a big CapEx investment, you can kind of look at how you assemble those: operational feasibility, brand fit, cultural timing. All those things sort of line up. But AI I think the technology can drive the options, but in the end, humans ultimately still choose the path. And I think we can't lose that. If you're a great retailer, you're making great decisions into the unknown. And I don't think there's any technology that's going to mitigate that risk. And if we all use technology to make those decisions, I think it would drive everything right to the center of the spreadsheet, and it would just be homogeneous and ubiquitous.
I think
But also,
I'd like to add, yeah, I'd like
go
to
ahead.
add what Danny has actually, called it out, correct? Like we really find people, or basically at the end of the day, correct, like all of us getting divided into two lanes. One of them say like, oh, AI is the next thing, we don't need people. The second wave, oh, you know what, it's of no use. Rather, you're gonna be the set of the winners or the best of the users of AI if you use it as your partner. It's your co-creator. Okay. See, when computers came, no one said like, okay, the computer is gonna take everything out of human beings. Let's keep those doubts and all things to come for the future. AI is gonna help you. Use it to excel yourself. Don't limit yourself by pushing yourself on either of the side. Take it open-minded. Let's show resiliency. When we talk about resiliency in technology, resiliency in any other thing, let's be resilient as a human being. Human race over the period has shown great resiliency when it came to climate changes, adaptability, nature, everything. And I think AI might be a very small thing when you compare the overall evolution of the human race.
And
We
just
are showing the defensiveness to that. That's not really, sometimes it's not going to be productive. And at the end of the day, we will be the losers if you're not able to use that technology at the right time.
I think one thing to note, just to build on that, is in a world where we're competing for consumer attention from email and social media and everywhere, what is the core value of, or what are the core goals of every single retail? It's richer personalization, it's reduced customer friction, it's deeper connection, improved retention, higher lifetime value. And all of this, AI can help augment. So it's really important that not to lose what is the end goal of what AI can provide. And that's a core connection with the consumer, personalization. So if you can use AI and your data to do that and to drive the deeper personalization, that's ultimately where you win as a retailer and where resilience really comes in. And the retailers that do use it effectively are the ones that are going to win in the marketplace.
Good point. Very good point. And on that note, I will say I'll address this question to Prati. Prati Patel is an emerging technology practice leader here at InfoVision, focused on human plus AI and customer experience outcomes. So let's talk about blending human and AI for customer experience, but also operational efficiency. So how can a human plus AI approach help retailers quickly identify customer pain points, but proactively reduce churn while improving revenue? That's kind of a loaded question, but
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Laurie, and the esteemed guests. Thanks for having me here. So I'd like to just start with a very brief introduction of what we do at InfoVision. So as an emerging tech practice lead, what the focus is identify the new trends and tricks that are happening in the industry out there in terms of technology, and use those to leverage real world issues and just fix problems when it comes to organizational efficiencies, improving customer experiences, to name a few. So I'd like to take this question a little bit more on the agent side of things, because they are equally important, the people that help other people, right? So the way we look at AI is focus more on the person who is trying to help your customers. Equally important, customers are extremely tired when it comes to giving certain calls, communicating over text messages. They may not get their issues resolved faster. So like Naz clearly said, AI is a co-pilot that can help assist those situations a lot better and reduce some of the cognitive load on those folks. Now, some key points to ponder upon is, do we really have efficiencies gained on that one? How efficiently AI can detect certain issues. So AI is all about having very well refined and defined data, and using those two elements, cast judgments on how certain tweaks can happen on the data that you have, and just point it back to the customer. Now, does agent, if the agent is talking to a customer and having, well, a heated moment with the customer, how to mitigate that? It's a human skill. And like Elaine mentioned, AI can try at the moment. They're not going to be able to mitigate that customer. It's a human skill. So how can we enable that human who's trying to do that become a bit more efficient? Point them the code, the book that they are following when it comes to interacting with the customers. And we have to consider different people come with different backgrounds and different experiences. So when it comes to certain escalations, they may not be taking these up in the same way. So having AI can standardize part of that within the organizational policies, but at the same time, giving that person an extra leeway about, this is the script that I'm following and this is what I should be saying to mitigate the customer issue. So rather than focusing on purely consolations, you can actually actively give them solutions within less time. So that's more of a human plus AI use case. We are seeing this in industry today. A lot of providers today, they are using this to empower their sales representatives and the call center agents. There are entire tools built around this to empower those workflows. Even in the post-processing, the transcripts of the entire calls can be recorded, and those transcripts are processed for multiple reasons. Let it be identification of the issues, potential churn risk, abandoned carts, basically insert a negative reviews, and why didn't the customer finish the purchase. A lot of other things are happening on the data that you have already procured. So there is a larger equation when it comes to using AI to solve certain problems, but empowering the human who is authorized to solve some of these issues with AI. It makes the worlds of difference. And we will be seeing a lot of these changes in the upcoming years to come. Some are already out there. For certain airline users, you might notice that, and on any calls, you don't really have to talk to a human to get to a certain point. You just say it. that where you need to be, and it routes you to that exact situation. Exact point, screen, whatever you want to go to. So things are becoming very dynamic for the agents as well as on the consumer side of things. But human plus AI is also equally relevant. It's equally relevant for organizations, but at the same time for the customers that are using it. Behavioral trends are changing drastically. So there's a much larger equation on how customers are using it. I consider myself as a customer, and I try and use every and all AI tools in my capabilities, and I have my favorites. But at the same time, I try and use every single one of them to understand where they're headed. So I'm sure all the other customers would be doing the same or similar things. So how their opinions, their mindsets will change over the time along with the technology, and how retail industry will come up with solutions to help them and make their experiences better. It's going to be an amazing journey to watch.
So on that point, how can retailers use AI to better understand those customer needs and deliver truly personalized experiences beyond traditional predictive analytics? Because everything's all about hyper personalization right now, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely. It reminds me of some of the latest change. Well, I wouldn't call it latest because 1.5 years is not latest, but Apple recently uh, participated in the RCS messages. Android had it for a bit now, but this is a very particular use case because the RCS capabilities basically enables you to send your consumers extremely personalized messages. Let it be a message that has you shaking hands with your favorite celebrity as a title picture and say, hey, or hey, Pratyush, here's your bill this time, and hey, by the way, this is just an additional picture for you because you showed interest in XYZ phone, and this person is our brand ambassador. This is just to name a few things. There's web links that you can click on directly through that, which can let you finish the entire transaction within that area. So hyper personalization is coming. It's not too far. You already have your SMS APIs integrated that can shoot messages directly to the customer phone number. Let it be your notifications, payment alerts, your reminders, any of those, even upsells sometimes. So how can you use the same piece of technology that you're using, but make it a little bit more personalized? There is multi-point aspects of tracking the customer experience, how the customer is interacting with certain websites, and send them the notifications. I see one of the massive retailers, they send me a particular type of message. If I was checking out a dresser, and then the next day, because I did not end up buying that dresser, this is the notification I get. And Naz, I'm pointing towards you when I say this. It says, Pratyush, we see you seeing this product. And needless to say, I get that product. Plus, if there's any promotion added to it, it just comes up right in the bottom. So these are some of the ways that interaction is happening. There is a tracking of those interactions that is also happening. And we can see that there is some sort of an AI that is being used to identify, if I don't end up buying that product, what other products will I probably be interested in? Because I'm looking in this general direction, where am I headed? So there is a lot of recommendations that comes through that as well. And coming back to your original point there, Laurie, is when it comes to figuring out what challenges the customers are facing today, and then adding personalization touch to it, I guess a lot of industries are doing that proactively. That I give one example of the call recordings. Based on that, we identify churn, put churn risk, not exactly churn, but if there's a churn risk, we should know. That's, I think, the easiest way to get the ROI back, because even if you reduce 1 or 2% churn, you'll probably have significant revenue lift because you're maintaining those customers. That's one of the biggest factors in the retail. So all in all, I guess this three things that, like I mentioned, covers the entire theme around that.
The whole overarching messaging I'm getting is let AI propose, let humans compose, and then measure what matters most specifically for your organization. I think sometimes, though, excuse me, retailers can get stuck, like what behaviors or rituals signify a truly human-centered AI culture. Is there anything specific? This is a generic question for the panel.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, Lori. You know, how I think about hyper-personalization, it's not a single algorithm, it's an ecosystem. So when you talk about getting an organization or a retailer AI ready, you really have to embed AI into every touch point, but keep the humans in the loop. So across the funnel, if we're looking at the whole customer funnel, whether it be marketing, whether it be the site app, whether it be service, agentic AI that drives personalization solutions and not just scripts, whether it be the stores where associate tools can surface relevant insights into real time, all of this human judgment and the brand voice shape the experience so it feels trusted and on brand. But AI can help understand why they did it, what's the consumer sentiment, and what they're likely to need next. So this is where I really believe right now where the shift is embedding the AI and using that, but let the humans talk to the brand voice and the culture.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead,
100%.
Don. I was gonna say that makes complete sense. Yeah.
And it's one of these things, in a previous role I had with Whole Foods and Amazon, obviously Amazon is sort of the epitome of just choice, right? And it's the diversity in it. But I think where most retailers, and I would say all retailers at some level, don't understand now is like the biggest misconception is that choice is a good thing, right? And in theory, choice is sort of a tax on the customer, right? Consumers don't want more choices. They want more choices that are representing them, right? So it's just, you go from choice to scarcity, and then you think about promotions and personalization. Every consumer wants to drive at some level artificial scarcity, right? Because it gives a redeeming value, it gives you relevancy, it gives you sort of theoretical differentiation. So I look at, on our side of the business, talking about promotions versus personalization, I think the future state with AI is going to be more tiered. It's mass promotions are the things that sort of set the stage. They're a little vanilla. If you're putting on a concert like a Coachella, it's sort of everything encompassed. But the personalization or the side stage closes the sale. It drives that really unique, innate experience, right? It's that up and coming band that you wouldn't have thought. But you need the promotion to be the sort of the baseline. In I think it's one of these things where it's like AI is not going to kill mass promotions. It's going to make them smarter. And I think retailers, that's where retailers on our side are really looking to, like, how do we crack through, right? How do we find that balance in target effectively?
Some of the comments that I'm hearing from clients that I talk to is, they want to avoid pilot purgatory and they want to deliver production value quickly, especially when they're talking around AI. So, and this is an open question for the panel. From your experiences, what do you feel are the most critical elements for successfully scaling AI, excuse me, in a way that's both high impact yet responsibly governed?
Yeah, this is a real interesting one, and having just deployed a lot of capabilities at Nike, I would say there's a few things. Start with clarity and not just ambition. The biggest barrier to scaling responsibly is unclear problem statements. Before deploying anything, we deployed anything at Nike, what is the job that AI is solving? How will we measure value and who owns the outcome? So what's the problem statement? What problem are we solving for? Then you can establish a repeatable activation framework. You don't want, have governance become an accelerator, not a bottleneck. So for us, at Nike in particular, framework includes legal and security reviews and technical evaluations value modeling, and pilot production pathways. You have to have extreme discipline. The discipline can unlock speed if done in a correct way. Then treat your vendors as extensions, because with AI and all these different tools, they're extensions of your risk posture, whether it be the hyperscalers or a startup. You've clear rules, data boundaries, IP protection, model transparency, and operational readiness. You have to treat your vendors as your partners and as extensions of your risk posture. And finally, build trust with your employees. AI scales when the people that are using them, when you enable them, and they understand and they have the proper training, and you invest in the change management. I think that's super responsive, super important to any sort of scaling of AI responsibly. So that's like the governance engine that can move as fast as your innovation engine. So
Yeah, I think I'd like to extend what, Elaine has been saying. And one thing that hits me is like, don't get driven or don't get into the race that, okay, you want to use AI and that's why you are sorting out your use cases. Rather, what are the real-time use cases or your problem statements for your business? Okay. What are your key targets that you want to achieve? Then try to map it to AI. Not like, oh, I want to use AI and that's why I'm trying to create a problem for yourself. And and that's where I think the difference between, the classic ROI mechanism and all the current people or the attempts towards using AI. Oh, we have a lot of POCs, but we don't have any production gains. We don't have anything which is concrete to show like this is the definite answer, like AI has increased in productivity or AI is change in the sales, AI helps so much of personalization. The problem is you're trying to create use cases for your solution, and that has never worked, correct? Like a particular solution has to be really catering a problem, but you're now trying to create a problem which might not be a real problem, which might not have been existing. You're trying to create hyper personalization in industries where really it's not needed sometimes. You're trying to create marketing and across areas where really doesn't matter, correct? And one of the examples that Pratyush actually shared, if you look at an e-commerce or any commerce journey, correct, there is various like broad touch points where AI has significantly improved in like last couple of years. Okay, where the highest point I can say is the content creation. Okay, it was a vanilla use case. It came on the fingertips, and I think there are now tools, creators who just take the request and get it done with use of AI within like minutes. Item enrichments, item workflows, the enrichments where the supply chain picking up. And I think supply chain actually was one of the best use case. Okay, and the optimization of these millions of routing and rate technologies, the delivery mechanism, picking up the right route for your delivery, all that has improved drastically. Okay. But since it's not coming out like a fantasy out there, I think it is really under those covers and you don't see it on your mobile app. But we are not realizing that nowadays you rarely find something that is getting shipped like 10 days out, 12 days out. No, that's not. Now, the common thing is 1 day, 2 days at a max. And a huge supply chain change has gone into it. Okay. And even when it comes to, I think, cloud cost, many of the technology, like deep infrastructure guys, or I think the leaders, there was like a hard push towards cloud in the beginning. Okay. But in the last 3 years, at least I can say the cloud costs of every big retailer, a big technology company has gone down by 30 to 40%. Whereas if you look their infrastructure snapshot or their technology snapshot, that might have at least 2x or 3x increased. So that's the way AI is touching all the bottom lines, and I think that's very critical for a very healthy and competitive growth of industry. And that's where resiliency comes in. Like 3x growth of your infrastructure snapshot with a reduction in cost, that shows you what we are bringing in. But at the end of the day, these things doesn't really come out as bold as like some fantasy video coming out of the marketing and all. That's why content creation and those high pitch videos, they take the limelight. But I think all the groundwork that happens and is happening will definitely come and make retailers and retail overall a very resilient playground for all of us.
And as you touched on something that's super important, I don't want to gloss over this, and that is the speed to production. That is super important for retail resilience right now. Given long lead times and how long it takes from creation to production to being in the market, that time frame, that's where AI can really help to reduce the time to cycle. And what does that mean? That means you're adapting to consumer preferences much faster, that you can produce, you can personalize your products much faster to different types of consumers as well. And so that speed to production timeline is really, really going to help retailers with resilience in this market. And that I think is something that is really critical at this juncture and at this point in time.
Yeah, to couple on that, what I'm sort of seeing, left and right of, a lot of the business units are, when you think of like Fortune 500 companies in terms of annual planning, it's one of these, this whole idea that a plan is just a thought. It's a sort of a present moment of intent, right? And the future has no obligation to comply with your organization's plan. And I think what's happening now is that AI and the speed to market is really showing that. And I think what, organizations in, good, bad, and indifferent are becoming more agile and fluid in terms of specialization within their sort of decision matrix and how they attack a problem. And you're starting to see, historically big organizations had perilous trenches, right? That were very didactic and they didn't talk to each other. And what you're seeing now is less hierarchical, more agile, and everyone can sort of row in the same direction a bit more because you're building planning cycles that are more, you're casting a bigger net versus being so specific about a certain plan, right? And I think that's going to disrupt a lot of the public sector, public companies in terms of the rigidity of how they look at quarterly, profits and how they sort of build their plans out, annualize. And I think that's for the good of everybody, right? Because you don't have to be so locked in. You can fail really quick up front and then pivot and then try again within a quarter. So that's going to really help, I think, innovation for the most part moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the original question, and I think what Danny concluded on that, is some of the key factors for generative AI and basically any technology adoption where pilots can be cut short and focus more on the production. I'd say what Elaine mentioned was more on the focus problem statement. Just write down your problems and make sure it's right. That's 50% of the game. And then, like Naz mentioned, it is more on about using AI with a purpose rather than just using AI for the sake of it. I'd like to add two more points that we constantly see in the industry. That is the data readiness. A lot of times, what we see is the data, it's available, but it's not in a state where it can actually lead to real value using AI. So we have seen tremendous amount of use cases that fails because the data maturity is not there. And which is, I think, the two sides of the same coin is the generative AI maturity. If you do not employ the right tools and the right technology to solve the right problems, that is not going to go too far. Identifying the problems is equally important, but at the same time, what model can possibly fix that and which direction that model trajectory is going? That is, I think, where a lot of the use cases fail. So like Danny mentioned, in the end, piloting something really quick, fast, use a fail fast approach. If you're failing it, 1 quarter is enough to understand that, pull the plug, move on. So that is what will make a lot of these use cases more production ready. It just you have to find out, fail faster. And like Elaine mentioned, the knowledge is everywhere. Partners, I mean, they're your extensions, right? So using the partners to learn what they know and then also implement into your use case, into your day-to-days, that really brings out the value. So I'll summarize with these 4 points that I just mentioned. I guess that covers it, but open to help.
It's great. I think it's time for Q&A. I really appreciate the expertise of the panel, but I want to make sure that we get these questions aligned. Excuse me. Naz, you touched on supply chain briefly, but one of the questions we have from the audience is supply chain delays are still a real issue. What's one thing retailers can do immediately to improve visibility?
I think it's supply chain delays. Generally, when we look at supply chain, correct, we think that it just comes with its own actually a whole life cycle out there, which is sitting out. Okay, it comes with the replenishment, forecasting, sourcing, a lot of other things go into that. Okay, and if you are actually very close to there are like different types of vendors and different type of business models out there. And if you're looking at a generic supply chain answer, I think it's a huge domain in itself. Okay, and there will not be a one answer fits all for that. Okay, but there are going to be use cases where you actually own your inventory. Okay, and then you are looking for your solutions as a business owner of a supply chain. Then I think there are a lot of other solutions which are coming to you. A lot of big I can say supply chain industries, solution product makers, they have gone huge with AI, coming up with their own forecasting models, replenishment models, safety stocking, and all those things. Okay, uh, I watch one thing that the retailers can do immediately to improve visibility. I think it's more about transparency and the trust of the customer. If that is the focus of a retailer, and instead of just trying to capture the order and then work out with the delays and take it up, I think that it's between those two lines, like where do you stand on your priority? Do you want a loyal member with whom you have a trust and a partnership built in, or you are just looking at your own sales numbers? I think it's not an easy bargain, okay, at the end of the day. And every one of us know that many of us are governed by the numbers at the end of the day. Okay, what are your sales number, what are your margin? So it's not an easy even task to top of the brass when it comes, but that is one of the key clarity that I think as a business you need to have when you want to provide it to your customers. And eventually that's the one thing that will help to have that visibility in the supply chain delays and whatever is happening in the back end. Many a times the items really are not sold by or fulfilled by the retailer himself. They are channelized, they are imported, all these things, and the uncertainties around that. There is no proper forecasting, and that's improving maybe down the line, with a lot of other regressive data available based on which might be a trend, and the models coming in, they will definitely have that, I think, near to real time and near to the actuals to the customer. But definitely it has come a long way, I will say. Okay, now you actually are able to see, like, you're not saying like, oh, your item will be delivered like 1st to 5th December. Now it has gone very sharp, like it will be on 3rd December. That's our assurance kind of thing. And I won't name retailers, but definitely proud of being working at one of the biggest retailer. And you actually have, many of us have nailed it to, like, it will be during this time, not only like this day, it will be on this time in your area, and you will get it. So I think we are there. We are approaching. It is just like when you talk about supply chain, it's also one of the very big, like millions of business holders there. Everyone wants to run their own business, their perspectives. They have their own ROIs on it. So it's a broader question to be answered. I think not gonna be a answer fits all.
Right. I want to be mindful of time. We've got I'm sorry, did somebody have something to add?
One liner to what Naz mentioned, and I think we were talking about similar along similar lines. But I think one of the larger problems that we have seen is, and like Naz mentioned, the retailer themselves may not have those issues when it comes to logistics and figuring things out, but at the same time, the inventory, the suppliers, what data they update into the system, I guess that is still very decentralized when it comes to multiple of those. So with certain companies that we've worked in the past, similar challenges that they have seen is the supplier information usually does not match to the product description page that they have. And when that happens, customer is not informed properly and they make purchases, which number one, if that even if they arrive in time, sometimes they just do not match the description. That just adds on to the challenges and trust and hassle, and customer experience gets low. So there are a lot of those aspects where the standardization is starting to come from ground up. So how the data is entered into the system, there are standardizations being put into that place to make things a lot more consistent across the board. So that is also changing a lot of these equations. And like Naz mentioned, I think the supply chain is there. It's just a lot of these smaller changes will fall in place as things start getting improved at scale.
Well, thanks. So again, I want to be mindful of time. We've got, I think, time for maybe 2 more questions. Customers expect fast and seamless service. This is kind of a loaded question. What's the biggest barrier to delivering that today, that fast and seamless service?
I think that's just everything that we talked about. It's data,
Yeah.
right? So it's the data element is so important to any sort of hyper personalization and being able to connect all your different data systems. So what is hyper personalization? It's knowing kind of whether you're front office agents, understanding, what was the last thing the customers purchased? How many times have they come into the store? What did they return? What are their sizes? Like that is very important. And that also has to connect to the store associates. The store associates have to be seeing the same data as like your agents that are on the phone. And those systems right now are super siloed, right? For most companies, and it's your marketing data. Well, if your marketers knew like much more about your customers, what they were coming for, or this particular segment. So that whole ecosystem and that whole flywheel, if we can connect all those data systems and use AI for that like real-time data forecasting, that's really the winning ticket. I mean, I can't stress enough how important that is to have AI bridge those silos so that you can have like one ecosystem and actually amplify all of your human store associates, your agents, your marketers, your technology people. So everybody's looking at the same thing and in real time. So
Understanding your customers' social and digital behavior.
yeah, exactly. And then you can, and that's where AI is really incredible, is like you can bring in the signals from the outside, whether it be like climate factors or seasonality or social media preference or different consumer segments. Like all of that can be tied in to the models and to help again augment and provide all of your employees with those types of intent and sentiment as well.
This is also kind of a loaded question. Maybe we touch point on the last part of it. But as we head into 2026, what is the one strategic investment retailers should prioritize to stay resilient and agile? We know clean data is good too, but what's one thing they should stop doing to move forward faster? It's a loaded question, but if there's anything top of
Question,
mind.
but I think one thing that is definitely on top of my mind always, whenever we are looking at moving faster at the same time staying resilient, don't compromise on your compliance. Don't compromise on the data integrity that you're looking at. Once you actually land into these kind of issues with your data, you actually have to track back weeks or in cases months, and then all the other things are at a halt. Then you start reviewing all your processes, all places where the data is getting used, all your innovation is halted. One production issue because you were not resilient, or basically you're not taking care of the data checks. So that's why I think responsible AI is also very critical when it comes. And nowadays, I think there are a lot of compliance products also available using AI, where proper data quality checks, and no negotiations with your PII, no negotiations with your encryption mechanisms, no negotiations when it comes to selling your data. All those things are very critical. So let's be ethical when we are trying to move faster. Otherwise, that is having that capacity to pull you back by decades in worst cases. So just be cognizant of that.
And I'll just leave with one sentence. Stop running your business on lagging data. The shift is from retrospective to real-time and predictive. That is the foundation of agility. The faster your insights, the faster your organization can adapt. And that's where resilience is created.
To that point, I guess resilience, it's not just surviving uncertainty, right? To your point, it's designing for agility, elevating human creativity plus AI, and then listening to your customers at every single step. And we're excited to see what prospective clients and other people out in the retail industry, just what they build next. And we would love to be able to partner with them to do that. So thank you, Naz, Elaine, Danny, and Pratty for the real talk and practical frameworks. Thank you to the audience for their thoughtful questions, and I'll turn it back over to Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurie, for expertly moderating today's session. We deeply appreciate the invaluable insights shared by all our eminent speakers as well, Nazmuddin, Ilan, Pratyush, and Danny. Your willingness to collaborate and impart your knowledge to the wider audience has greatly enriched our event. So thanks a lot. For those who missed the live webinar or wish to revisit the discussion, the recording will be available soon on our company's YouTube channel. So please like and subscribe. The event was also broadcasted live on LinkedIn Live for greater accessibility. Just to keep you informed, this was our last event for this year. So thanks a lot for all those who made for this and all those who have attended our past events, including our speakers and audience. Looking ahead, we are excited to explore the latest technological innovations next year. Our upcoming events will span various sectors, which includes banking, financial services, insurance, telecom, retail, consumer goods, media, healthcare, supply chain, hospitality, manufacturing, and much more. So stay updated with tech news, upcoming events, and registration details by visiting our website or following us on our social media channels. Your engagement is invaluable, so please continue to interact with and share our content within your networks. We extend our heartfelt thanks to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, Digit7, who is our technology partner, and all our associated partners who have helping us in creating all these webinars. So thanks a lot once again for all your participation and support. We look forward to hosting more insightful sessions. Wishing you a wonderful day, a productive weekend, happy holidays, and happy New Year 2026 in advance from whole AI Core Spot team. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.